Dan, the school committee is continuing to push for millions of dollars more to cover what it considers its basic education plan. And in fact, it's on the agenda of every single school committee meeting, including tonight's. And school committee leaders and other school leaders are constantly reminding us that Cumberland has the lowest per pupil spending in the state. So I want to ask you what you think about taxpayer support for schools, but I don't want to hear about going to the state for more funding. We've covered that, I think, and I also think it's kind of a non-starter. I want to know locally, you're going to have the budget. Somebody mentioned the budget's going to be in front of you in February to start working on. What are you going to do about schools from local taxpayers?
Again, I'm going to reiterate the fact that if we learn today, we can lead tomorrow, and I firmly believe in that. The people that I have encountered as I've been going through the campaign have said we've moved into the town of Cumberland because of the education that is well known, and we have our young family, and we want them to be educated through the school system of Cumberland. We also know that the emergency services, which is police, fire, and rescue, is second to none, second to none. And we also know that the services that the town highway department and the water department provide is also excellent, and that is the reason why we moved into the town of Cumberland. We will pay our fair share. This is their comments. We will pay our fair share of our taxes in the values on our houses and the things that we own. But we also want a return on that. And I say that the return on that is through the schooling of our children. And that's one of the main parts of it. And what we have to do is say that for every tax dollar that we get, we want to make sure that we get in return that same tax dollar back on the education that we give it to. We need to be able to communicate, again, like I say, with the school department, with the school administration, with the school instructors as to the programs that we need to be able to give the results back to the taxpayer. The taxpayer will pay. He will pay. She will pay because they're looking for the education, they're looking for the services that the town provides. That's the reason why they moved into the town of Cumberland.
Marsha, thank you so much for your question. And I regret that we cannot touch the state and look for help because, in my view, that's where everything starts.
It's not going to be resolved. You're going to have a budget to put together, and you're not going to be getting more state aid.
Oh, I understand that.
More
I
than
understand
And I think
more than
we
the
should
town
also,
would. Anyway.
follow up again. The school committee is saying local taxpayer dollars that we're not supporting enough. And they're looking for $4 million more in local dollars to meet the basic education plan of the state. So the question is, how do you resolve that with budgets?
That is correct. Our schools have been doing well, and we need to provide them with the means to improve on that performance. It's a tricky question because without raising taxes, it's a difficult situation that you put in. I intend to work with the school committee, the town council, and the business community to solve some of these problems. My intention is to create a business environment to attract more business to the town, expand the tax base, and with that money, fund our education. I also intend to work with the school committee, the parents of the children, to create efforts, do some fundraising, maybe some volunteering programs after school, arts, music, sports. Maybe through that mechanism we can afford our children the activities that they deserve and without stressing the taxpayer at the end. But my view also includes, and I intend to lobby hard at the state level because, again, Cumberland is faced with a very difficult situation that no other town in the state has to deal with. We have to fund 2 school systems in town, and many of our tax money now is being devoted to a secondary school system. I will lobby hard with the help of our state reps and senators to change the laws at the state to be more and equitable and be fair to the Cumberland taxpayer, so again, the state will start funding properly our school system.
I don't think if I heard your question, it's been addressed by either candidate of the $4 million. And I'll address it.
Okay.
I sat in 2 meetings with some people outside of Cumberland about whether we had to deal with that. Because that was the issue that the school department felt. And in talking to many, many residents, they weren't about to ante up for $4 million. And I think Tom had a good article in, I believe it was like 10 cents or something, if I remember off the top of my head. And I'm not going to support something like that. However, I have, and my record shows that I've supported increases in the last 2 years, over $2 million for the schools, plus line items, one being the $51,000 that we put in for the Chromebooks. That doesn't carry over again, and that was the reason that was put in. The second line item is $100,000 for grants to help the children. And I've actually sat with Dr. Matheson and the principal of B.F. Norton on 4 or 5 meetings this summer about what they want to do, which I think is a fantastic program to help the underachievers, basically in the B.F. Norton and area. And there is $100,000 is going to be used. And I would look at the next budget to do the same thing. You have to go with success. When success is there, you have to go with it. So that's the way I would handle that situation.
Okay.
Thank you.
For the 1 minute rebuttal that you're going to do, could you also, maybe you could talk about the fact that you're going to be on the board of the charter school, and will you use that position to try to make changes or advocate for changing the formula so that the charter school isn't getting the same amount of money off of the top of the budget that it's getting right now from the school system? And if you don't want to address it,
Well,
that was
it
a
is-
little bit long for 1 minute.
Marcia said it is the mayoral academies. You will
Yeah.
be on the board as mayor. So
Yeah.
how are you going to reconcile that with your support of the Cumberland Public Schools?
Mr.
It-
Alves?
Mr.
It begins
Alves.
with Mr.
Yeah.
Alves.
Okay.
1 minute. Yeah, 1 minute, guys.
We have approximately 4,655 students enrolled in our Cumberland Public School System. They are underfunded. They are underfunded. It's no secret. It's no thing hitting. We spend approximately $12,300 per student to educate them per year. We need to make sure that the programs that are out there, again, with good communication from our school people to come back and say exactly where they're going to and make the improvements so that we can go back to the taxpayers and say, listen, we are going to do the very best that we possibly can to reinstate the monies that are necessary to bring our classifications up there for the grades of the schools. As far as being on the board, I feel that we now have a two-way educational system, the charter and the regular educational system. And we have to work with both. We have to work with both. We have to get the ideas from both of them as to where we're going and how the funding is going to be operating, especially with classifications.
Well, I welcome the opportunity of sitting at the board of the charter school because it will be a pleasure to work with our public school system and our charter school system and provide that line of communication that we need to, number one, if possible, share resources. That's one of the ways that we need to provide or to need to accomplish savings for our school system. In addition, communication is key in all of this. As I said before, many times there's been an environment of distrust between the administration and the school committee and also the charter school. In my view, a mayor should lead and should be a bridge. The mayor's office should be a bridge to provide the communication needed to have a dialogue and find a solution that will be at the end helpful and successful to the taxpayers of Cumberland.
Well, I think it's a very important question for the reason that I've stated time and time again, that we have to think about the 4,700 students in Cumberland, not just whether it's a charter or it's the public schools. The charter school is not going to go away. As far as working, I know the charter schools are working with some of the people in the school system now on some of the programs. Also, I know that the charter schools, especially from the McCourt, is working with OCYL, which hasn't even been brought up, which is very important in educating our students. So it's clearly, if you look at the charter schools or the Mayoral cabinet, you have all your top administrators are from Lincoln, Pawtucket, Cumberland that's doing this now. And I think that brain trust can do a lot of things for all these communities.